Here are the host countries and cities for the FIFA World Cup 2026, along with the match schedule for each city, and the dates of every game. Let's get started. In USA, Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Francisco Bay Area. Matches in Atlanta. Spain vs Cabo Verde, June 15th. Czechia vs South Africa, June 18th. Spain vs Saudi Arabia, June 21st. Morocco vs Haiti, June 24th. Congo Democrat vs Uzbekistan, June 27th. 1L vs 3HIJK, July 1st. W86 vs W88, July 07. W99 vs W100, July 15. Matches in Boston. Haiti vs Scotland, June 13th. Iraq vs Norway, June 16th. Scotland vs Morocco, June 19th. England vs Ghana, June 23rd. Norway vs France, June 26th. 1E vs 3A BCDF, June 29th. W89 vs W90, July 9. Matches in Dallas. Netherlands vs Japan, June 14th. England vs Croatia, June 17th. Argentina vs Austria, June 22nd. Japan vs Sweden, June 25th. Jordan vs Argentina, June 27th. 2E vs 2, June 30th. 2D vs 2G, July 3rd. W83 vs W84, July 6th. W97 vs W98, July 14th. Matches in Houston. German vs Curacao, June 14th. Portugal vs DR Congo, June 17th. Netherlands vs Sweden, June 20th. Portugal vs Uzbekistan, June 23rd. Cabo Verde vs Saudi Arabia, June 26th. 1C vs 2F, June 29th. W73 vs W75, July 4th. Matches in Kansas City. Argentina vs Algeria, June 16th. Ecuador vs Curacao, June 20th. Tunisia vs Netherlands, June 25th. Algeria vs Austria, June 27th. 1K vs 3EIJL, July 3rd. W95 vs W96, July 11th. Matches in Los Angeles. United States vs Paraguay, June 12th. Iran vs New Zealand, June 15th. Switzerland vs Bosnia and Herzegovina, June 18th. Belgium vs Iran, June 21st. Turkey vs United States, June 25th. 2A vs 2B, June 28th. 1H vs 2J, July 2nd. W93 vs W94, July 10th. Matches in Miami. Saudi Arabia vs Uruguay, June 15th. Uruguay vs Cabo Verde, June 21st. Scotland vs Brazil, June 24th. Colombia vs Portugal, June 27th. 1J vs 2H, July 3rd. W91 vs W92, July 11th. GU101 vs GU102, July 18. Matches in New York, New Jersey. Brazil vs Morocco, June 13th. France vs Senegal, June 16th. Norway vs Senegal, June 22nd. Ecuador vs Germany, June 25th. Panama vs England, June 27th. 1I vs 3CDFGH, June 30th. W76 vs W78, July 5th. W101 vs W102, July 19. Matches in Philadelphia. Côte d'Ivoire vs Ecuador, June 14th. Brazil vs Haiti, June 19th. France vs Iraq, June 22nd. Curacao vs Côte d'Ivoire, June 25th. Croatia vs Ghana, June 27th. W74 vs W77, July 4th. Matches in Seattle. Belgium vs Egypt, June 15. USA vs Australia, June 19th. Bosnia and Herzegovina vs Qatar, June 24th. Egypt vs IR Iran, June 26th. 1G vs 3AEHIJ, July 1st. W81 vs W82, July 06. Matches in San Francisco Bay Area. Qatar vs Switzerland, June 13th. Austria vs Jordan, June 16th. Turkey vs Paraguay, June 19th. Jordan vs Algeria, June 22nd. Paraguay vs Australia, June 25th. 1D vs 3BEFIJ, July 01. The meaning of